As soon as the auctioneer lifted the antique doll up for bidding, the atmosphere in the room shifted. The doll was unlike any other that the auction house had ever seen. Its glass eyes were piercing, its porcelain skin flawless, and its curly blonde hair seemed to shine even in the dim light of the room. The bidding began, and soon, the price skyrocketed. But despite the steep cost, one collector knew that she had to have the doll. Her name was Olivia, and she had been obsessed with dolls since she was a little girl. Now, as a grown woman, her collection had grown to include hundreds of antique dolls from around the world. But there was something about this particular doll that drew her in, something that she couldn't explain. As soon as Olivia took possession of the doll, strange things started happening. She would wake up in the middle of the night to find the doll staring at her, its glass eyes seeming to follow her every move. And sometimes, when she was alone in the room, she could hear the faint sound of a child's laughter coming from the doll. At first, Olivia tried to convince herself that it was all in her head. But the more time she spent with the doll, the more she realized that there was something truly eerie about it. It was almost as if the doll had a life of its own. One night, as Olivia was drifting off to sleep, she heard a faint whisper coming from the other side of the room. She turned to look and saw the doll sitting upright on her shelf, its glass eyes staring straight at her. Olivia tried to move but found that she was paralyzed, unable to even speak. And as she watched in horror, the doll began to move, its porcelain limbs creaking as it slowly stood up and began to walk toward her. Olivia was frozen with fear as the doll approached her bed. She could feel its breath on her face, and she could see the hatred and malice in its glass eyes. And then, suddenly, it was over. The doll had disappeared, leaving Olivia alone in the darkness. From that day on, Olivia knew that she had to get rid of the doll. But no matter how hard she tried, it always seemed to find its way back to her. She tried to give it away, but whoever she gave it to would always return it to her doorstep, claiming that they couldn't keep it in their home. In the end, Olivia knew that the only way to get rid of the haunted doll was to destroy it. And so, one night, she took it out to her backyard and burned it, watching as the flames consumed its porcelain body. But even now, years later, Olivia can still feel the doll's presence in her home. She can hear its faint whispers in the dead of night, and she can feel its glass eyes watching her every move. And sometimes, when she's alone in the darkness, she can swear that she can see the doll's porcelain face staring back at her, its lips twisted into a malicious grin.